Welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast Podcast. I know y'all missed our faces. It's been a little bit. Our schedules have been pretty crazy these past few days. But, of course, I'm Big Nige, and we got CW over here. How we feeling today, CW?
It's rainy, but I'm here. So we gonna do something with these topics tonight.
Definitely got some good topics in store for y'all today. Again, before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're new, because we got some good stuff for you guys. So to start things off, we tribute to Gilbert Arenas, a podcast show that everybody who watches basketball podcasts should know all too well, for Gilbert Arenas and his outlandish takes. And this is one of his latest episodes. He did not disappoint, as he said the NBA should get rid of European players to improve the defense. Take a look at this quote. And
I know what they can do. Get rid of all the Europeans. What? You just said it. You just said it. You go to college to learn defense.
Yeah.
What college do Europeans go to?
I'm with you. No, I didn't say
Right?
get rid
They don't go to college whatsoever. They have no athleticism.
They
have no athleticism.
They all come over.
Hold on. They have no athleticism, right? They have no speed, no jumping ability. They are a liability on defense. There's 150 Euros in the league today. Name the top 10 defenders.
No,
None.
I'm with
right? Just the Rudy Gobert and Greek the Freak. Other than that, they're just offensive players. They're not defensive players, right? So the NBA took away aggression. They took away aggression to open up the Euro League. When they first started getting here, it was too rough for them.
And they didn't make it.
They didn't make it. Right? So eventually, they softened the rules. They didn't soften the rules for the Americans. They softened the rules to open it up international. So when they're saying the Euros is going to run the league in the next 5 years, why do you think that? More threes, passing, cutting. This is not our league. This is not the American style. This is the Euro style. So, drive in, suck the defense in, pass the ball to the three-point line. It's the three-point shooting league because they're copying Euro style. Suns, right? What was the biggest thing the Suns didn't do? Defense. Ole, let's go. Boom, let's go.
It is.
7 seconds.
Right?
7 seconds. 7 seconds.
Now everybody, we don't want to foul, so we can go try to score. That was the whole thing of D'Antoni.
so as you guys heard, he had a lot to say. So I'll open the floor to CW. The topic that brought this discussion up was how can NBA bring a competitive balance to both sides of the ball? So what are your thoughts on Gilbert Arenas' take?
Gilbert, he's very interesting. If you watch the show, he's a really interesting guy, and he brings up some topics and some things that make you think. And so when he said that, I kind of thought, well, maybe he's right, and you listen to Kenyon Martin and I believe Rashad McCants was there that day. They kind of, the light bulb went off and they said, well, maybe that's true. But I couldn't get a full list of European foreign players, but I did get a list of the international players that were a part of teams on the first week for the opening nights for the NBA. It was 125 players. He said 150 euros. We know he's trolling, but out of those, there was a pretty large number of European players, but there was a lot of Australian, a lot of Canadian players. But when you look at where Gil loses me at is when you look at the top defensive rating teams in the NBA. Of course, you look at Minnesota. They're the number one team. They got Rudy Gobert. He's European from France. The number two, Boston Celtics, Porzingis. He's considered European. But the most interesting part is the number 4 team, the Orlando Magic. And they have 3 foreign players. Joe Ingles, he's not European, but he's Australian. You have Franz Wagner and Mortiz Wagner. I hope I'm not butchering their names, but those two guys, yeah, close enough. But those guys are prevalent on that Orlando team. They're the 4th best defensive rating teams, and those guys play minutes. So what we know that Gil was trolling by saying this. He doesn't believe that, and nobody wants the European players gone. What I think he meant is the Euro style has, bringing in that style has messed up. I guess you could say it's messed up defense, but it has spread the floor. So you use big men differently. And going back to that opening night international players, most of the players that actually played minutes were big men. So, he's talking about, well, who's the next best point guard? Who's the next best, wing player? There's not a whole lot of wing players internationally or European that actually play significant minutes. And if we know basketball, you have offensive players. We've both played. If you play in a basketball game, there's players that you put in just for offense. So those guys, of course, a lot of them can shoot. A lot of them are more offensive minded. Like you said, they're more team oriented. So you put those guys in to generate offense. But, I don't agree. And the one thing I do want to say is, because I do watch AAU and my son plays AAU, I bring this up a lot. There's some different philosophies in defense that kind of goes towards what Gilbert said, because this is a few weeks back when they were arguing about defense, where, Rashad McCants was fussing about, that teams need to go back to help defense. But he was saying, Gilbert saying now players play, if you're playing man, you're playing your man, you're hugging your man. And that's what a lot of AAU coaches teach now. So when you play school ball compared to AAU ball, AAU's telling you to just hug your man. Don't hedge off to help. You're guarding that man. If he beats you, he beats you. But school ball's telling you, a whole different philosophy. Yeah, so a lot of this comes from the AAU teaching, where they teach a lot of on defense. When you're playing man, you're hugging your man. You're not hedging off to help on defense. You're, if you get beat, you get beat. And we all know, especially nowadays, who's playing more. If you have a player that can get you 15, 16, 17 in AAU, and on a good day, maybe 20, 25, and then you have a defensive player that can only give you like average 3 or 4 points, but he can lock them down, who's been more minutes?
Bucket getter.
Exactly. So you can't pinpoint this on European players. There's a lot of different factors, and I think the NBA, there's nothing they can really do. But Gil, like you said, he's trolling, but there's nothing really they can do to I think that can change how the game is played right now.
So yeah, I agree with you. To back up some of your points, obviously, taking out all the Europeans, you're kind of putting the NBA in a very rough spot in terms of just talent level and obviously like marketability. Because my thing is, with all these popping, European players or overseas players, like, they bring a lot of attention to the NBA. And if you're solely relying on LeBron James, the Steph Currys of the world, Kevin Durant, these big names, they're on their way out the door. They only have a few more seasons left. And it's time for, those older players to, pass the mantle in terms of, marketability and, how they're going to get fans, generate revenue, all those kinds of things. And that's where the European players are coming in. Everybody, your son's favorite player is Luka Doncic. What is he? European player.
Very European.
I mean, so it's like, that's the direction where the NBA is going. And yes, you have, Anthony Edwards, he's up and coming. Obviously, you still have Jason Tatum, who's not the oldest yet, but he's getting in like his early, or he's like his mid-20s, probably like 20, 26, 27, whatever.
26.
So, I mean, obviously you have him, but like, he's not. When you think of Jason Tatum, he's a good player, obviously like all-star level, but I don't know. In terms of like marketability, I just think Luka, even the Victor Wembanyama, is just bigger names. Even if they're not, well, Luka's a better player than me, but even if they're comparable players, the popularity is no contest with Luka Doncic. But to go back to your point about defense, well, according to defensive rating for the NBA, I mean, Rudy Gobert is number 1 in the league, European. Victor Wembanyama, your guy for Rookie of the Year, even though he's been playing very well, especially in the month of February. So I'll give him that. He's number 2, and then he's locking people down. I mean, not even jumping and just throwing people's shots out of bounds.
He's different.
When you talk about Victor Wembanyama, you can talk all you want about, how he's an alien and he can shoot, he can dribble. But the main thing right now is his defense. Like, it's literally changing how people are watching the Spurs just from his defense alone. Obviously, before Embiid got hurt, even though he's kind of in between European and American, and he's trying to play for Team USA. But whatever the case may be, he was a top 5 defender before he went down. And then the 5th person on the top 5 of the defensive rating is Nurkic. Surprise, because I've never considered him a defensive player.
Really?
Apparently, he gets after it. Yeah, according to the numbers, I mean, he's number 5 with about 108.8 as his defensive rating, which is just 0.2 behind Jared Allen at number 4. He's 0.8 behind Karl Anthony Towns, just like your point about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wembanyama's 107.3, and then Rudy Gobert's 104. Obviously, if you guys don't know, the lower the number, the better your defense. Just clearing that up. So yeah, I think the NBA obviously changed the rules because everything is all analytics now. You got the run and gun style offense. You get up, X amount of threes in a minute compared to X amount of layups. You're going to score more if you get up those threes because they have even though you can talk about the percentage and go into the numbers about what's, more likely to go in, well, are you going to hit a contested 3-pointer or a contested layup better? It just depends on where you're looking and what your personnel is for your team. And if you got a team full of shooters, you're going to get up 60, 70 threes a game just by merit. And that's not even the NBA level. That's high school, college, regardless. And that's just where the game is going. Like, people are looking into the numbers and just being like, the threes are what's going to win us games. Just like how you see in NBA today. Like, no lead is safe. A team in the early 2000s, if they were up by 20, they were packing it up and getting ready for the next game. A game like today, if a team is down 20, you could go to sleep for 5 minutes, and next thing you know, that team's up by 10. It's crazy. It's just the power of the 3-point line and the pacing of today's NBA. So, I mean, like I said, like you said, Gilbert Arenas probably wasn't taking this topic very seriously. He has some truth to it in terms of the European style, like you said. Yeah. But obviously, you get rid of these European players, and Adam Silver's got a whole different problem coming up on the horizon.
Exactly.